My name is Teri Cooper, and for 32 years, my family saw me as the silent ATM. The dependable one, the responsible one, the one you only call when bills are due. They never called to ask how I was doing. They called to ask how much I was earning. This New Year's Eve was supposed to be different. I had a plan. I just didn't know they would hand me the perfect moment to execute it on a crystal champagne flute, right between the midnight countdown and my father's toast about family legacy. Every New Year's dinner at my parents' house was a performance, a carefully choreographed show where everyone played their part. My mother, Brittany, was the director, perfect smile, perfect guilt trips, perfect manipulation. My father, Frank, was the charming host, raising his glass to whatever story kept the image intact and the money flowing. My sister, Clara, was the loyal accomplice, nodding along and reaping the benefits of chaos she never had to clean up. My brother, Randy, was the golden failure, the one whose disasters were always repackaged as opportunities that somehow required my bank account. And me? I was the invisible foundation, unseen, unheard, unless something was crumbling. Unless someone needed a financial rescue. Unless the house of cards they'd built on my credit was about to collapse. If you've ever been the one everyone calls only when they need something, subscribe. You're not alone, and you'll want to see how this ends. I became my family's safety net somewhere around my 23rd birthday, though I didn't realize it at the time. It started small. Randy needed help with his security deposit. Just $2,000. He'd pay me back next month, he promised. Next month turned into next year, which turned into never, which turned into the understanding that asking for repayment made me the selfish one. Then came Clara's emergencies. Her car broke down the same week her insurance lapsed. 500 here, 800 there. Each crisis delivered with tears and the unspoken accusation that a real sister wouldn't hesitate, wouldn't keep track, wouldn't dare suggest that maybe Clara should budget better or call Mom and Dad instead. But we both knew why she called me. Mom and Dad would ask questions. I would just transfer the money. My parents were more elegant about it. They didn't ask for help, they offered opportunities. Co-sign this loan, just a formality. Add your name to this account, just in case of emergencies. Let us use your credit for the renovation. Our score took a hit, but yours is pristine. Every request came wrapped in reassurance, in promises that this was temporary, that this was what families did for each other. The kitchen renovation cost $40,000. I saw the tile samples once, in a photo Clara posted on Facebook. I wasn't invited to the reveal party. I found out about it the same way I found out about most family events, through social media posts I wasn't tagged in. Randy's business ventures became a rotating cast of disasters that always required my intervention. The food truck that never opened. The rental properties that somehow cost more than they earned. The consulting firm that consulted no one but needed $12,000 for licensing and equipment. Each failure was rebranded as a learning experience, a stepping stone, proof that he was a visionary who just needed one more chance. I started noticing my absence in the family narrative around my 28th birthday. Mom posted a throwback photo collage on Facebook, our beautiful family through the years. 32 photos. I appeared in 4 of them, and in 3 of those I was cropped at the edge, half a shoulder, part of a face. Randy's failed business launch party had a photographer. Clara's promotion dinner was at the expensive restaurant downtown. Dad's 65th birthday was a surprise party with catering. I learned about all of them afterward. But when Randy needed bail money for a DUI, my phone rang at 2 in the morning. When Clara's boyfriend moved out and left her with double rent, I got a text marked urgent with 17 exclamation points. When Mom and Dad's property taxes came due and their account was mysteriously short, Dad called me from the county office, voice tight with manufactured panic. I was never in the family photos, but I was always on the emergency contact list. Not as daughter or sister, but as the line item labeled backup funding. The role I never auditioned for, but somehow played flawlessly for 9 years straight. I walked into First National Bank on a Tuesday afternoon in early October with exactly one goal: open a high-yield savings account that no one in my family knew existed. A secret fund. My escape velocity money. The account that would finally be just mine. The teller processed my request and disappeared into the back office. 5 minutes turned into 10, then 15. When she returned, she wasn't alone. Martin Chambers, the branch manager, followed her with the kind of expression that makes your stomach drop before your brain catches up. "Ms. Cooper, could we speak privately for a moment?" His office was small and smelled like coffee and printer toner. He closed the door with careful precision, the kind of movement that suggested he'd rehearsed this conversation in his head. He sat down across from me and folded his hands on the desk. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me," he said. "How many accounts do you believe you currently have with this bank?"
2.
"Checking and the savings I'm opening today." He nodded slowly, opened a folder, and turned his computer monitor toward me. "According to our records, you have 7 accounts. 3 checking, 3 savings, and 1 line of credit with a current balance of $42,000. The office tilted slightly. "That's impossible. I never opened those accounts." "That's what I was afraid you'd say." He pulled out a stack of papers, each one flagged with yellow tabs. "These are the signature cards for those accounts. I've been a banker for 23 years, Miss Cooper. I notice patterns. And I noticed that applications for accounts in your name kept appearing, always when you weren't present, always with secondary signers." He spread them across the desk like evidence at a crime scene. My signature, or something that looked close enough, appeared on each one. But the handwriting was slightly off, the loops too wide, the pressure inconsistent. Next to each forgery, legitimate signatures. Frank Cooper. Brittany Cooper. Sometimes both. "The line of credit was opened 18 months ago," Martin continued, his voice careful, clinical. "Your parents are listed as co-applicants. They've been making withdrawals consistently. The savings accounts show a similar pattern. Deposits in your name, withdrawals by secondary account holders. Your father and mother have authorized access to all of them." I couldn't breathe properly. The air in the office felt thin and artificial. "How much?" My voice came out strange, distant. Martin's jaw tightened. "Total? Between unauthorized withdrawals, the line of credit, and fees, approximately $97,000 over the past 6 years. $97,000. Nearly $100,000. Money I'd earned, saved, believed was building my future. Money that explained why my savings account never seemed to grow despite regular deposits. Money that had been systematically siphoned away by people who were supposed to love me. "I'm not supposed to show clients this," Martin said quietly, "but I have a daughter your age. If someone was doing this to her, I'd want someone to tell her." He slid a business card across the desk. "Attorney, specializing in financial fraud and family law. Document everything," he said. "And Miss Cooper? Don't tell them you know." "Not yet." Rebecca Chen's office was on the 14th floor of a building downtown that smelled like expensive carpet and quiet money. She didn't look like the kind of lawyer who handled messy family drama. She looked like the kind who dismantled corporations before breakfast. That's exactly why Martin had recommended her. "Financial elder abuse is common," Rebecca said, reviewing the bank statements I'd brought. "Financial abuse of adult children by their parents is less discussed, but equally devastating." Walk me through the timeline. I started with Randy's security deposit 9 years ago. Then Clara's emergencies. The kitchen renovation. The cosign loans I actually remembered agreeing to back when I still believed cosign meant we'd both be responsible, not that I'd be solely responsible while they reaped the benefits. Rebecca listened without interrupting, taking notes in precise handwriting. When I finished, she looked up with an expression that was somehow both sympathetic and coldly analytical. "The accounts you didn't authorize are straightforward fraud. The ones you did authorize but were misled about are more complex, but we can work with them." I'm going to connect you with someone who can help us build an airtight case. David Park was a forensic accountant who apparently spent his days unraveling financial crimes for divorce attorneys and fraud investigators. He had the energy of someone who genuinely enjoyed spreadsheets, which made him either my best ally or a complete lunatic. Possibly both. He requested 7 years of bank records, credit reports, tax returns, and any documentation I had of family requests for money. What arrived in his initial analysis 3 weeks later was 147 pages of meticulously documented theft. The phantom renovations, loans taken in my name for home improvements that cost half what my parents claimed. The difference went to vacations and Randy's failed businesses. The fake co-signer agreements. I'd signed documents believing I was a backup guarantor. The actual paperwork listed me as the primary borrower with my parents having full withdrawal access. The unauthorized accounts. 7 accounts opened over 6 years using forged signatures. My father's handwriting, attempting to mimic mine. David had overlaid my real signature with the forgeries using analysis software. The differences were microscopic but definitive. The credit cards, 3 cards in my name that I'd never applied for, all with my parents listed as authorized users. Current combined balance, $61,000. My credit score had dropped 90 points in 2 years. I'd thought I was being financially irresponsible. I was actually being systematically robbed. This isn't family helping family, Rebecca said during our 3rd meeting, sliding the full report across her conference table. This is organized, premeditated financial fraud. Your parents have been running a long con using your identity, your credit, and your trust as collateral. She pulled out another document, this one headed with the words fraud report and criminal complaint. The question isn't whether we have a case, she said. The question is how you want to proceed. Quietly, through civil channels or loudly. I thought about every missed birthday, every family photo I wasn't in, every time I'd transferred money at 2 a.m. while they slept peacefully in their renovated house. Loudly, I said. That one word changed everything. Drop a like if you're Team Teri, because what happens next is going to be unforgettable. The call came on December 18th, 3 months after Martin Chambers had turned my world inside out, 2 months after Rebecca had filed the preliminary paperwork, and exactly 2 weeks before every document would be finalized and every account would be frozen. Teri, sweetheart, it's Mom. Sweetheart. She never called me sweetheart. That word was reserved for Clara, for moments when my mother wanted something but needed to pretend she was simply being affectionate. We're doing something really special for New Year's this year, Brittany continued, her voice sugary in that particular way that meant she'd rehearsed this conversation. An intimate dinner, just family and a few close friends. Your father specifically asked me to make sure you'd be there. He says we don't see you enough. The audacity was almost impressive. They didn't see me enough because they didn't invite me to anything unless they needed a wire transfer. It would mean so much to us, she pressed on. I know you've been busy with work, but this is important, honey. Family is important. I could hear the script in her pauses, the places where she expected me to fold immediately, to apologize for being absent from events I was never invited to promise I'd rearrange my entire life to attend their special dinner. Rebecca had warned me this might happen. Financial predators have instincts, she'd said. They can sense when their access is threatened. Expect them to love bomb you, to create urgency, to manufacture situations where saying no makes you the villain. What's the occasion? Asked, keeping my voice neutral. Does there need to be an occasion to want to see my daughter? Brittany's tone shifted, injured now, the first edge of guilt trip entering her voice. Although, since you asked, Randy has some really exciting news he wants to share with the family. An investment opportunity that could change everything for all of us. There it was. Randy's latest disaster, repackaged as opportunity and clearly requiring my bank account to become reality. What time should I be there? I asked. The relief in my mother's voice was palpable. 7 o'clock. And Teri wears something nice. We're having it catered, and I know you sometimes show up in those work clothes that are a little, well, you know how your father is about first impressions. I'd worn a tailored blazer to the last family gathering I'd been invited to 3 years ago. My mother had spent the evening telling me I looked severe and asking if I was trying to intimidate people. "I'll dress appropriately," I said. After we hung up, I texted Rebecca. They took the bait. New Year's Eve. Requesting confirmation that all paperwork will be finalized by then. Her response came back in under a minute. "Everything will be ready. The accounts freeze at 6 p.m. on December 31st. Your attorney will be on standby. Are you sure you want to do this at a family dinner?" I thought about 9 years of being their silent ATM. About $97,000 stolen while they smiled at me across dinner tables, just like this one. About every family photo I wasn't in, and every emergency call I'd answered. I typed back, "Absolutely sure." They wanted a performance. I'll give them one they'll never forget. I arrived at 7:03, late enough to make an entrance, early enough to watch the full performance unfold. The house glowed with warm lighting that made the renovated kitchen look like something from a magazine spread. My $40,000 kitchen, though no one here knew that except me. Brittany answered the door in a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her smile wide and theatrical. "Teri, sweetheart, you made it."
Come in, come in."
"Everyone's been asking about you." Everyone was a carefully curated audience. Aunt Linda and Uncle George, my father's brother, who still believed our family had money. The Hendersons from next door, retired couple who'd watched us grow up. My mother's book club friend Patricia, who loved gossip almost as much as she loved appearing in photographs with successful families. And of course, Randy and Clara, both dressed like they were attending a yacht club dinner rather than a family meal. Crystal champagne flutes appeared immediately. The catering staff my parents definitely couldn't afford moved efficiently through the space, offering bacon-wrapped dates and some kind of crostini with fig jam. The whole production screamed, "We have money," when the truth was they had my credit and my forged signature. "Let's move to the dining room," Frank announced, playing the gracious host in his navy blazer and expensive watch. The watch had been a gift to himself last year. I'd seen the credit card statement. I'd paid for it. The dining table was set like something from a wedding, white linens and carefully arranged florals. Place cards indicated where each person should sit. Mine was strategically positioned between Aunt Linda and Patricia, the people most likely to witness and spread whatever narrative my parents wanted to create. We settled into our seats as the first course arrived, some kind of butternut squash soup with creme fraiche. Frank stood, tapping his champagne flute with a knife until the conversation died down. "I want to propose a toast," he began, his voice carrying that warm, paternal tone he used when he wanted something. "To family. To the sacrifices we make for the people we love. Brittany and I, we've spent our entire lives making sure our children had every opportunity, every advantage. We went without, so they could have everything." Aunt Linda made a soft sound of approval. Patricia nodded, dabbing at her eyes like this was the most moving thing she'd ever heard. "We put 3 kids through college," Frank continued, the lie delivered with such confidence I almost admired it. "I'd paid for my own education with loans I was still repaying. We supported their dreams, their ventures, their futures. Because that's what parents do. We build foundations so our children can build empires." He raised his glass toward Randy, then Clara, and finally, almost as an afterthought, toward me. "We're so proud of all of you. And tonight, we're excited to hear about Randy's incredible new opportunity, something that could benefit this entire family." Everyone drank. Everyone smiled. And I sat silent, watching the performance, my phone in my lap, my attorney on speed dial, counting down the hours until 6 p.m. when every account they'd built their house of cards on would cease to exist. The main course came and went with performative conversation. Patricia shared updates about her son's promotion. Uncle George told a long story about his golf game. Clara talked about her new apartment, casually mentioning the hardwood floors and updated appliances, carefully omitting that I'd paid her security deposit and first month's rent 8 months ago. Dessert arrived as the clock approached 9:30. Individual chocolate lava cakes with raspberry coulis and gold leaf garnish, because apparently my parents' fictional wealth required edible precious metals. The caterers poured coffee and after-dinner cordials while Brittany caught Frank's eye with a look I recognized, the silent communication of people about to execute a plan. Frank cleared his throat. Before we get too comfortable, Randy has something he'd like to share with everyone. Son, tell them about the opportunity you've been working on. Randy straightened in his chair, transforming into what he probably thought looked like a successful entrepreneur rather than a 34-year-old man whose every business venture had crashed and burned on my credit rating. I've been working with a development group on a multi-property investment opportunity, he began, his voice taking on the practiced pitch of someone who'd rehearsed this. Residential real estate, turnkey renovations, rental income streams. The projected ROI is 35% within the first 18 months. Uncle George made an impressed sound. Patricia leaned forward, interested. The partnership requires $75,000 in capital to secure the properties, Randy continued. I've already committed to the deal. We close in 3 weeks. This is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around twice. The table fell silent in that expected way that meant everyone knew what came next. This was the moment the entire evening had been building toward. The champagne, the expensive catering, the testimonial about sacrificing parents, all of it designed to create an atmosphere where saying no would make me the villain. Brittany placed her hand over mine, her touch warm and suffocating. Teri, sweetheart, your father and I have already helped Randy as much as we can. But this is the kind of investment that could set him up for life. Set all of us up. We're a family. We support each other. Real sisters show up when it matters, Clara added, her voice pointed in that particular way she'd perfected over the years. They don't just make excuses about why they can't help. You've always been so responsible with money, Frank said, joining the chorus. So careful. That's why we know you have the resources to make this happen. This isn't asking for a handout, Teri. This is inviting you to be part of something bigger than yourself. To invest in your brother's future. Patricia and Aunt Linda watched me with expressions of benevolent expectation, already drafting the story they'd tell about generous Teri who helped her brother achieve his dreams. Randy leaned forward, his eyes bright with desperation disguised as confidence. I just need $75,000, Teri. That's it. I'll pay you back with interest once the properties start generating revenue. 6 months, maybe less. 6 months, maybe less. The same timeline he'd promised for every other disaster I'd funded. I set down my dessert fork and reached for my phone. Actually, I said, my voice calm and clear, I think we need to talk about money. The temperature in the room shifted immediately. Frank's smile froze in place. Brittany's hand tightened on mine before she slowly withdrew it. Randy's expression cycled through confusion, then irritation, then something approaching panic. Talk about money? Brittany laughed, the sound brittle and performative. Sweetheart, we're just discussing an investment opportunity. There's nothing to talk about. I unlocked my phone and pulled up Rebecca's number. Actually, there's quite a bit to talk about. Starting with the 7 bank accounts opened in my name without my authorization. The 3 credit cards I never applied for. And approximately $97,000 in fraudulent withdrawals over the past 6 years. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the caterers in the kitchen seemed to sense something and went still. I pressed dial and switched to speaker. Rebecca answered on the first ring. Miss Chin, I'm at my parents' house with family and friends present. Can you confirm the status of the accounts we discussed? Confirmed. Rebecca's voice was professional, clinical, devastating. As of 6 p.m. today, all joint accounts listing you as primary holder have been frozen pending investigation. All credit cards with unauthorized users have been canceled. Fraud reports have been filed with First National Bank, and documentation has been submitted to the district attorney's office. Patricia's mouth opened slightly. Uncle George set down his coffee cup with careful precision. Can you also confirm what documentation we've compiled? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. 18 forged signature cards. 23 unauthorized withdrawals totaling $42,000 from accounts you legally opened. 3 credit cards opened using your identity, with charges totaling $61,000. And a line of credit for $42,000 that you never authorized or received benefit from. I pulled a folder from my bag, the one I'd been carrying all evening, and spread the contents across the pristine white tablecloth. Bank statements highlighted in yellow. Credit card bills with charges for my parents' vacation to Aruba, Randy's failed food truck venture, Clara's furniture. The forensic analysis showing my father's handwriting attempting to replicate my signature, the microscopic differences marked in red. These are copies, I said calmly. The originals are with my attorney and the authorities. Frank's face had gone from warm paternal charm to something harder, more calculating. You're making a mistake, Teri. This is a misunderstanding. Those were joint accounts. We had every right. You forged my signature on the application documents, I interrupted. That's not a joint account. That's identity theft. That's fraud. Brittany stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. How dare you? After everything we've done for you. We raised you, we fed you, we gave you a home. And I've spent 9 years paying you back for basic parenting, I said. Except you didn't tell me that's what was happening. You just took. You forged. You lied. Randy finally found his voice, anger replacing the panic. This is insane. You're going to destroy this family over money? No, I said, looking directly at him. You destroyed this family for money. I'm just refusing to let you destroy me too. The room erupted like a carefully constructed set collapsing under its own weight. Frank slammed his hand on the table, making the gold-leafed desserts jump. You want to talk about legal action? I'll bury you in court fees. You'll spend every penny you have left fighting us. And for what? To prove you're petty and ungrateful? The evidence is already filed. Rebecca's voice cut through the speakerphone, still calm, still clinical. Discovery will show a pattern of systematic fraud spanning 6 years. Ms. Cooper won't need to spend anything. The district attorney's office is handling the criminal case pro bono. Brittany's performance shifted from shocked matriarch to wounded mother with practiced ease. Tears appeared on command, her voice breaking perfectly. My own daughter. My baby. How could you do this to us? After we sacrificed everything, to give you a good life. You didn't sacrifice anything, I said, my voice steady. You stole. There's a difference. Patricia stood up slowly, gathering her purse with the careful movements of someone trying to leave a crime scene without being noticed. I think I should go. George, Linda, perhaps we should. Stay, Brittany commanded, her tears evaporating instantly. You need to see what kind of person she really is. Vindictive. Cruel. Trying to destroy her own family over a misunderstanding about some joint accounts. But Aunt Linda was already standing, her expression no longer benevolent and approving. She'd been married to a financial advisor for 40 years. She understood exactly what forged signatures and unauthorized accounts meant. Frank, this isn't a misunderstanding, she said quietly. This is fraud. I'm sorry, but we can't be part of this. The Hendersons followed, offering awkward apologies and avoiding eye contact. Patricia lingered a moment longer, already mentally drafting the story she'd tell her book club, though now the narrative would be quite different than the one she'd expected. Randy's rage was more honest than our parents' performances. You just cost me $75,000. The deal closes in 3 weeks. Do you have any idea what you've done? I saved myself from funding another one of your failures, I said. You've never paid me back once, Randy. Not once in 9 years. Why would this time be different? Because this was real. This was going to work. That's what you said about the food truck. And the rental properties. And the consulting firm. I have $12,000 in losses just from your consulting firm that consulted exactly no one. Clara had been silent through most of the explosion, but now she stood, her face flushed with anger. You're destroying this family. You know that, right? Mom and Dad made mistakes, fine, but going to the police? Filing criminal charges against your own parents? That's sick, Teri. That's actually sick. They committed crimes, I said simply. Multiple crimes. Repeatedly. For years. They're your parents. And I'm their daughter, not their emergency fund. If you've ever walked away from people who only saw you as a resource, leave a comment. Subscribe because you deserve to see what freedom looks like. Frank's charm had completely dissolved, replaced by something cold and calculating I'd never seen before. You'll regret this. When you're alone and you realize you threw away your entire family over money, you'll regret it. I'm already alone, I said, standing up and gathering my folder. I've been alone for 9 years. I just didn't realize it until a bank manager showed me the receipts. I walked out of that house at 9:52 p.m. on New Year's Eve, leaving behind the chocolate lava cakes and the shattered performance and the family that had never really seen me as anything more than a resource to be extracted. The January air was sharp and clean, cutting through the suffocating atmosphere I'd been breathing for the past 3 hours. Behind me, I could hear raised voices, Brittany's sobs reaching a crescendo, Randy shouting something about lawyers. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking to my car, my hand steady as I unlocked the door. My phone started ringing before I'd even left their street.
Mom.
I declined. It rang again immediately.
Dad.
Declined. Then Randy, then Clara, then Mom again, a desperate rotation of people who'd ignored me for years suddenly unable to accept my silence. I pulled over 2 blocks away and systematically blocked every number.
Mom.
Dad. Randy.
Clara.
Each contact deleted with a single press, years of one-sided relationship erased as easily as they'd erased me from family photos. The voicemails started flooding in anyway, routed through numbers I didn't recognize. Brittany's voice, pleading and desperate. Frank's, cold and threatening. Clara crying about how I was tearing the family apart. Randy raging about his ruined deal. I listened to none of them past the first few seconds. I just kept deleting. Rebecca had already lined up a job opportunity in Seattle, a consulting firm looking for someone with my exact financial background. The interview was a formality. They made an offer within a week. I gave notice at my current job, sold most of my furniture, and packed what mattered into a dozen boxes that fit easily in a small moving truck. My parents tried to show up at my apartment twice. I didn't answer the door. They sent letters marked urgent. I returned them unopened. Randy created a fake email account to send me a manifesto about family loyalty. I blocked it without reading past the subject line. The distance between Pennsylvania and Washington state turned out to be exactly what I needed. 3,000 miles and 3 time zones between me and the people who'd spent 9 years treating me like an ATM with a heartbeat. My new apartment was small, a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor with a view of the city and windows that let in more light than I'd seen in years.
No renovación de un nuingli funda.
No family photos I wasn't included in. Just space that was entirely legally mine. 6 weeks after I moved, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open to my bank account. 1 checking account. 1 savings account. Both showing only my name. No secondary signers. No authorized users. No phantom withdrawals or mysterious charges. The balance was smaller than it should have been after years of working, but it was growing now. Every paycheck stayed where I put it. Every dollar I saved remained saved. I had $93 in my checking account the day I walked out of that hospital 8 months ago, the day Martin showed me what my family had been doing. Now I had 18,000 in savings, built slowly, painfully, one paycheck at a time. My phone sat silent on the counter. No emergency calls.
No desperate texts.
No one asking how much I was earning. Just silence. And for the first time in my adult life, silence didn't feel like absence. It felt like peace.